and we're just going to jump right into it. So, and for those of you who do not know, what? No, for those of you who do not know, Bernie Sanders is now on his Unity tour with not Queen Latifah, but that was a deep cut. That's a deep cut.
That was a reference.
Hope we don't get pinged for that.
Yeah, whatever. No one's copywriting Queen Latifah songs in 2007. I guess.
Shut up, Brent. Shut up and get to what's important. Nobody cares about you.
Fine, whatever. The point I was trying to make was he's on his UNITY tour with Tom Perez. Made a little bit of a pit stop at the Chris Hayes show. All in with Chris Hayes. But whatever. Who wants to describe what happened on that show? Katie, do you want to describe for our audience what the debacle
one of
that
the
was?
Most uncomfortable 5 minutes of television I think I've seen in quite some time. I mean, I think I give Chris Hayes credit for pressing Tom Perez. You know, Bernie went on his Bernie spiel talking about the corporations and the billionaires, and Chris Hayes did try to pin Tom Perez down to say something substantial, and his ducking and bobbing and weaving to get away from that was just so unbelievably uncomfortable.
So, yeah, for those of you who do not know what occurred, Bernie and Tom Perez did a joint interview on All In with Chris Hayes. I believe it's All In with Chris Hayes, where Bernie went on, like, as Katie said, his Bernie spiel. He went on the exact same rant he's been going on for probably 30 years about the fact that, you know, corporations, billionaires, the oligarchs have taken over, they've hijacked our system, and they're largely the ones who are in control of our politics and our government. And basically said it's time for us to pointing a finger at billionaires and say, hey, you're responsible for a lot of the problems that we have in society. And, you know, Chris Hayes, God bless him, almost managed to do real journalism for a few minutes. And he pressed Tom Perez to, you know, join in that statement, in that accusation, and pointing that finger at the billionaires and say, hey, for a lot of the problems that America is having right now. Unfettered access to our politicians through corporate lobbying, through super PACs, through Citizens United has basically ruined our entire political system. And Tom Perez, he went full robot, you know, started speaking in obvious talking points about how the Democratic Party is a wide tent and there's, you know, more unites us than separates us, and how, you know, anyone who wants to fight Republicans and blah, and then he short-circuited and just repeated the same thing for a little while. And very hard to watch. What do you think, Adair?
I'm not even gonna lie. For those of you who don't know, I'm a broke college student who spent all of last night doing calculus homework because I don't have cable. But from what it sounds to me like Democrats are being Democrats.
One second. Can we just, before we even go into the content of what I just asked, that question I just asked you, did anyone notice in the interview that they were sitting really, really close together?
Uncomfortably close.
They were sitting like Tom Perez and Bernie Sanders were sitting like shoulder to shoulder. I don't do obvious, you know, you can all see by the quality of my camera that I'm not an expert on width. But they were sitting they were basically in each other's laps.
Yeah, I have the image up next to you now so that people can see it. Like, and I mean, I feel Tom Perez's face says a lot in this particular screen cap too. But like,
he looks very uncomfortable. But go ahead there.
No, I feel like, you know, Dems are being Dems, and that picture really does bother me. I mean, that's really creepy. It's like two off-cast Sesame Street characters just sitting there. No.
I was just thinking the same thing, that they looked like Muppets sitting next to each other, like side by side, because the puppeteer was too lazy to get like two different sticks, you know?
Right. It's so creepy. It's so wrong. But I mean, God, Dems are Dems. That's kind of what we keep coming back to. And I mean, it's almost dumb to expect better at this point, right? Like, we know the Dems aren't going to do what we want them to do, especially those of us on the left. We realize that Tom Perez is an oligarch. He wants so bad to be the 1% of the 1%.
He's a puppet.
Like, he tries so hard. I almost feel bad for him. But then I remember, I'm like, oh yeah, you're just like, you are literally the token colored person that they're going to trot out whenever they need someone to do some, you know, shucking and jiving. So I mean, it is what it is. Dems suck. They're going to continue to suck, and I hope that someone sets Bernie free soon because there's no way he's doing this on his own free will.
I don't understand what Bernie's game is. So like I made the statement that Chris Hayes almost did some real journalism. He almost like he did press Tom Perez to say it. He wanted him to say it. He wanted him to say billionaires have hijacked our political system and they are responsible for the majority of our problem. You know, billionaires that's being, you know, code for corporations, etc. The moneyed interests, private interests have hijacked our political system. And
Tom Perez couldn't do it, like, and he set it up in such a way that like Bernie said it as like, this is the one thing that we need to agree on in order to move forward in this unity tour, basically. And Tom Perez was like, well, if you run on hope, though.
Yeah. Oh, we got values. Don't forget our values.
And let me say, we're for the American people. We like them.
We like puppy dogs, rainbows, and hope.
Sorry, interrupting. Here's where I have to critique Chris Hayes, right? So the way he framed this question was completely disingenuous. So the way he framed the question was, you know, people for the problems of America too. They blame immigrants, they blame minorities, they blame women, social justice warriors. I don't know, endangered species probably too. I don't know. I can't keep track of who Republicans blame for America's problems right now. And he's like, and Bernie Sanders wants you to blame people too. Like, do you think that's the right thing to do? It's like, what? Blame people if they're responsible, right?
I mean, that's what Tom Perez is doing there is one of my go-to movies.
Yeah, that's Chris Hayes.
Chris Hayes.
Okay,
Chris Hayes said that, and Chris Hayes said.
We're going to keep doing this because but I'm going to finish my thought because Brandon, you suck anyway. But basically, all you're doing is don't switch screens just to here, Richard. This is what we need. But basically, when you do that so and so blames this and so does this. I mean, that's when I was younger as an older brother. That's what I would do. As soon as I knew I was in trouble, my first thing is, but so and so did this, but they did that and that and that and that and that and whatever. So I mean, it's just kind of.
So, but my point
with Chris Hayes, I really don't have any faith in Tom Perez. So I'm just kind of like, I'm underwhelmed.
My only point about what Chris Hayes did is that it's completely disingenuous because basically he's been doing that same thing that since I would say the primary or definitely since the general, this attempt to construct a left equivalency of the right. And his statement that, well, Bernie's just blaming people and Republicans are blaming people too. Doesn't that make them exactly the same, really? Is one of the most disingenuous, stupidest comments they make. And of course, I never know if Chris Hayes is purposely, you know, being obtuse, if he's dumb, but I know he pretends that he acts very sanctimoniously on Twitter and it gets very offended when you point out, you know, the fact that he's kind of a hypocrite. And second,
Dems. Period. Like neoliberals in a nutshell. There you go, folks. Give that answer to right.
No, but the second thing that Chris Hayes said that was annoying and that was demonstrably false was that Hillary Clinton ran on a message of hope, and he said that to contradict, in the sense that it's time to, you know, as opposed to pointing blame, we should be constructing our politics around the vague notion of hope.
Well, I think Tom Perez had described it that way, and Chris Hayes had taken it as a given. Yeah, she ran on hope, so here. And then he tried to pin him down. So it wasn't that Chris Hayes introduced the point about hope. Tom Perez did, because that's like one of the only 5 words he knows anymore. But, you know, Chris Hayes, while he was trying to pin him down on a very important point, just kind of gave him that. Like, yeah, she ran on hope without questioning it, even though it's just demonstrably ridiculous thing to say. She didn't run on hope.
I mean, she kind of did in that classic neoliberal sense, as in, I'm your savior. Capitalism will always be here to help you. Look at the boogeyman to my right. Don't look at the horrible, horrible things that I'm doing. So, I mean, if we look at it neolib speak, yeah, she totally ran on hope. If we look at it from any regular, everyday, average person, she ran a terrible, horrible campaign and just tried to shut everybody up that didn't agree with her.
Or maybe you better hope I win, or the world's going to end because we're going to give the nuclear codes to a maniac, and then I'm going to praise him as soon as he starts actually dropping bombs.